The Marlins win. Yes, the Marlins win. They find a way to come back all the way back from 5-0 down in the ninth inning. And then in extras, they find a way to walk it off. This was 2023 Marlins throwback. Jazz was ejected, but it didn't matter. The great Dane came through. Oh, baby, that one felt good. Tons to get into, guys. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, Peter Pratt, and welcome to Locked On Marlins. And welcome to May. Yes, sir, the vibes in May. They're feeling glorious compared to April and March. We won't talk about them anymore. Flushed. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. This, of course, is your team every day. And twice, actually. Just want to call that out, by the way. The Marlins, we now have a Locked On Marlins postcast. Yes, sir. And make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out the postcast. Greece is hitting it up on the postcast. I did joke with Greece yesterday to say, Greece, since you've started doing this show, the Marlins have not won a game. But that streak is now over. So you've got Greece hitting it up on the postcast. It means you're going to get Marlins content immediately after every single game. Even non-UK friendly. Even more so in non-UK friendly as Greece is based over in the States. Don't forget, though, for this channel as well, there is a YouTube channel. It's also called Locked On Marlins. So find it. Hit subscribe. Join me in the comments in YouTube as well. It's been a zoo recently. However, it feels like today might be a day to be positive. Equally, today it feels like is a day where Jazz Chisholm Jr. gets slandered on Twitter. That seems to be the vibe after he was ejected yesterday. As you can see, if you are watching, there's a sizable rundown here. Really sizable rundown. We got Sixto talk, Jazz ejections, Dane bringing the pain, and Benedict sending, which was probably one of the worst third base calls I've ever seen in the history of calls. And so we need to talk about that one as well. Benedict may need to have a talk into, it ended up the outcome ended up being the right one. But Skip may need to have a conversation with Benedict around that one because boy, oh boy, that was a hope and a prayer at third base. Nevertheless, we'll get into that after the final ads. Tons to get into then, guys. This is going to be a fun one. But this episode, but just to let you know, this episode is sponsored by our good friends over at PrizePicks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB, for a first deposit match up to $100. Guys, just breathe with me. Yes. How about that win? How about that Marlins dub, baby? A come from behind, extra innings, 1-run dub. Boy, oh boy, there was a lot of drama at the back end of the game. Boy, oh boy, the game started in a way that felt very 2024. Sixto getting blown up. Marlins offense doing nothing. But they found a way to get it done. And didn't it feel great? It's all we want from the Marlins. We just, okay, it might not be our year. But we just want to feel just slightly alive at least. Just give me a sign of life to enjoy this summer pastime. Don't spoil my summer, Marlins, by only winning 25 games or something crazy. No. Anyway, I'm feeling much better. I've got a spring in my step today because, when you win in that kind of fashion, it's fun. And as well, you go to the post-game presser and Skip Schumacher's demeanor. It's completely different. Skip sounding different. Kelly Sacco on the post-game conversation. She's speaking to Dane Myers. He's getting the Gatorade bath. This is what baseball should be. This is what we expect and we need in our lives. Great to see the Marlins do find a way to get it done against the Rockies. And you're just reminded, by the way, the Rockies are just as bad as the Marlins. To be honest with you, talent-wise, they may be a slight step down, but the records are the records, and right now these two are right near the bottom. We'll see where they end up, but gut feel is probably It won't be a million miles different to that. But hopefully along the way for us as Marlins fans, we get to enjoy more of those crazy wins, the voodoo magic from 23. Maybe it's back. Maybe this is the boost for the Marlins. Maybe they go on a run. I mean, baseball is so weird, right? I mean, man, oh man, I was putting a tweet out earlier, just the fact that Vidal Brujan's OPS is way above Ronald Acuna Jr. in 2024. I mean, who would have known? A couple of people did reply on that tweet to say, man, I mean, they're not Braves, they're Marlins fans. They're going saying, man, I didn't realize Acuna was in such a funk. Glorious, probably. But that's baseball, right? It's unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get. And who knows how it goes for the Braves? Who knows how it goes for the Marlins? Anyway, this is not Locked On Braves. We'll leave them guys to carry on and complain about their offense and lack of pitching or whatever it might be. Over on Locked On Marlins, we've got it all, baby. We got Sixto Sanchez. Skip Schumacher spoke after the game. Very funny. Funny, that's probably not the right phrase. But Skip spoke about Sixto. And what he said is, we preach to our starting pitchers to be in the zone, attack in the zone. We've heard it over and over, right? Particularly with guys like Trevor, with Eddie, with Luzardo. The guys that have got big-time stuff. They want to be attacking and aggressive in the zone. Skip then called out to say, I think Sixto was probably like 80% in the zone. It's way too high. We can't have Sixto just solely living in the zone. It's the first time I'm going to have a conversation with a pitcher to say, Sixto, brother, you need to, find a way of, getting ahead in counts and then going outside the zone to induce that strikeout. And I thought that was very interesting. Because when you look at that first inning in particular, I mean, that fair play to Sixto. He got through 4 innings there. The first inning, to me, I mean, it looked at one point like, he's not getting through the first inning, and it would have been a disaster for the Marlins bullpen-wise. Again, Skip spoke after the game. Basically, bullpen was down a bit. As always, I mean, the bullpen's always down for the Marlins now, right? But, the bullpen was a little bit dinged, let's say. Didn't have much length available in the pen. And probably if something went wrong with Sixto, then boy, oh boy, it may have been position player season. I don't actually know who would have been, who's going to be the first position guy throwing. Have we seen one yet? I don't think we have. Have we? I can't even remember. It's been a bit of a blur, to be honest with you. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is Sixto Sanchez, to be fair, after a first inning where he gave up 5 runs, to be able to come back out and get things rolling and go 4 innings, I think was pretty impressive in itself. And again, the reason, and you look at those 5 runs and you look at the map of where those pitches were, where those hits were, everything's basically meatball season, give or take. And, I think we have to be honest with ourselves with Sixto Sanchez at this point that, he isn't a big stuff guy now. He just doesn't have the stuff to live middle in the main. It's not the overpowering stuff that maybe he was used to when he was younger and injury free or pre-injury, let's say. And so I think that was really interesting from Skip, the fact he's going to have that conversation with Sixto, which is basically the reverse conversation he's having with everyone else. Because Sixto at this point, let me know what you think in the comments on YouTube in particular. Like, is this still a big league arm at this point? And considering everything, what we've seen this year, and it's, maybe it's Peter Bendix, goes on about, we don't want to jump to conclusions. We don't want to, evaluate too soon. But what we've seen from Sixto thus far, to me, suggests that it's unlikely that you've got a viable big league arm at this point. I think there was a post-game spaces with Fish on First. Great to see the guys firing the spaces back up. It's about time, guys. But I think Eli described Sixto at this point as it's the type of arm stuff production that you'd see from like a Rule 5. I think he was throwing in a Paul Campbell comp. I mean, Paul Campbell, man, that's a blast from the past. Is Paul Campbell still with the organization? I don't even know. I'm not sure he is. I don't think he is. Is he? I don't know. Anyway, I think what the point Eli's making there is Sixto is expendable at this point. You remove the name, and to be honest with you, you're seeing all the other guys, these, AAA guys that are coming up, getting blown up, sent down. That's basically where Sixto's at this point. And I know he's working his way back. So potentially that's why he gets a bit of extra leeway. But you have to feel that at some point with Sixto, particularly when like Braxy's back, Luzardo's back, you have to feel that there's going to be a DFA pretty soon after that, because he's unclaimable. It's not, there's no point protecting Sixto from being claimed and someone's going to flip him into a stud. It's just not going to happen at this point. The stuff isn't there. The injuries have bitten too hard. And I know he's working his way back and you want to give him time. And the Marlins maybe are in that unique position this year where they can give Sixto time. And so maybe they'll just, keep it rolling, because why not? But I think if we're honest with ourselves, and if man in the mirror is playing, you'd be looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, I think it's time to DFA Sixto and move on. I say move on. He'll clear waivers. He can then go to AAA, be called upon later in the year. Who knows? But nevertheless, it's fun seeing Sixto. It's also fun seeing Sixto blown up in the first inning and Craig Mish's response, clearly. Like, Craig and Sixto are forever connected. And Craig, straight away in that first inning, he's tweeting out, he's reveling in Sixto's pain. And the Marlins fans are all on board with that, no doubt. But then, of course, the Marlins find a way to come all the way back, baby. And we're going to talk about that straight after the ad, as well as Jazz Chisholm Jr., his first ejection of the year. And it led to a situation where Dane Myers ended up in the game, unplanned. But Dane ended up playing a big role in this Marlins win. So we're going to talk about that shortly. But before we do that, time to let you know, firstly, about our good friends over at DoorDash. Yes, sir. And guys, if you want to make mum smile, you can start Mother's Day with flowers or surprise her with gifts from the brands she loves. Delivered the very same day with DoorDash. So even if you're leaving it late, you can get that same day delivery for Mother's Day, guys. Come on. Mums are a gift, so give her the best this Mother's Day. Get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets to the best of tech, to self-care essentials and more, delivered right to her door. And if she's got that sweet tooth, no problem. Tech enthusiast, no problem. A beauty connoisseur, who isn't? Or is even outdoorsy. No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. So get a Mother's Day gift as unique as she is with DoorDash. You can use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's Locked On MLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. And this episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePick is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action. While you watch your favorite sports and players, you just pick more or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in, baby. Spring training is over and baseball season is officially well underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond into your prize pick entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your prize picks entry today. Rodri Munoz going for the Marlins this evening. I was super impressed. I'd be taking the over on the K's for Rodri Munoz against the Rockies, no doubt. And you can get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to the next level during basketball's post-season. Almost botched that one, but I kept it rolling. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That is all in lowercase, LOCKEDONMLB, for a first deposit match up to $100. Reminder, download the app today, PrizePicks, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Whew. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt. Man, I really got into those ad reads then. I was all in, embraced it. I was feeling it. And it's fair to say, Jazz Chisholm Jr. yesterday, last night's game, he got a little bit juiced himself in some ways, a little bit excited. Ended up getting himself tossed. This comes a day after I spoke about Jazz Chisholm Jr. and his improvements in terms of his eye, the improvements in terms of the umpires, and the way that they're calling balls and strikes against him, seemingly, more so in that low and away zone. I was speaking about it yesterday. And then lo and behold, the Pete Pratt curse, it kicks again. And what happens the next day? Jazz loses his mind with an umpire and ends up getting tossed. In the end, we look at it, Jazz, whilst he used some unsavory language, bleep, bleep, not a strike, something along those lines, bleep, 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 not a strike, it was never a strike, bleep, 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 definitely wasn't, okay. Anyway, when we look at the actual image, Jazz, it was a strike. Oh, boy. And this is the funny thing, right? When you're a player, when you're hot in the moment, everything going on, you can lose your mind. It's, and I get it. Balls and strikes must be a super big frustration for a player, but it's just part of the game and you have to adapt and adjust. It's easier said than done. I completely get it. And you feel wronged. You only have a certain amount of at-bats per day, 4, 5. Think all that prep, all of that BP, all of those snoozes you've had in between waiting for the games, all of those innings out there in center field, just to have 4 at-bats, 5 at-bats, which probably last 5 minutes total. You want to savor them. You want to maximize them. You want to deliver. In the end, for Jazz, struck out, blew up with the umpire. The umpire was actually right, which is kind of comical. Skip Schumacher spoke after the game, though, around, that topic, that he understands the frustration, but from Jazz's perspective, he can't be getting tossed and letting his frustration boil over. He ended up missing out on 2 ABs because of that. 2 ABs that he could have impacted the game in. And that's a very valid point. Dane Myers, I almost said Dane Bowers. Dane Myers ended up in the game, taking over for Jazz. He ended up having 2 monster hits. Came up big time. So even though the plan was not for Dane to be in the game, he ended up being in there and impacting it. We'll speak about Dane shortly. Let's just go back to Jazz. Jazz should have been there. He's the Marlins' most impactful stick. And for him missing, they need him on the field. Skip has spoken about it many, many times. So a lot of people on Twitter today kind of calling out Jazz. He's a baby, this attitude, he's unprofessional, etc. I get it. The end of the day, with baseball, you can see there's clearly like a huge mental aspect of baseball. And I get it that it spills over and it can spill over at times, whatever. But, for Jazz in general, he needs to keep his emotions in check because it hurts his team. If he's not on the field, he knows that. Anyway, Dane Myers comes in, impacts the game. Jazz did the right thing and apologized to his team and thanked Dane Myers for getting him out of a bad spot, really, in that one. So, Jazz, he needs to keep a lid on it. I get it. And he was really going off in the dugout as well. Like, it wasn't just like on the field. It kind of carried on in the dugout, and Skip's trying to calm him down, and there's things all over the show. It was a full-blown rant from Jazz. I think, maybe it's just one of them where we're 30 games in, the season has not gone the way you expect, and just there's a way of just unloading. It felt a little bit like that with Skip, a week ago, whenever it was, when Skip was tossed, where sometimes it's just an accumulation of stuff that builds up, and it's just like, I need to let it go. And maybe that umpire was just a punching bag that the Jazz needed. I don't know. Let's hope. Because Jazz has been on a heater. Obviously, those back-to-back home runs, back-to-back days. Jazz, he's been walking a ton. He's been a big part of this offense when it's got going. But clearly there's frustration there. Let's talk about Dane Myers shortly and his impact, and equally what the future can look like for Dane Myers too, because I think that is another interesting wrinkle. I also want to talk about the third base coach as well, because yes, the Marlins walked them off. Brian De La Cruz scoring the winning run in probably not textbook fashion. We need to talk about that because was it a base running blunder? Was it a coaching error? Probably a bit of both, but probably more so a coaching error. We'll talk about it shortly. Before we do that, let you know that this episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Monopoly Go. We got the sexy graphics package in that one. And all right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. Is that correct? Have I said it correct today? I think I have. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or App Store. Game on. Always wanted to do that. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt. Locked on Marlins. Wednesday, the 1st of May. Happy May, 1st of the month. I'm feeling good. Dane Myers, especially, making me feel good. No doubt. Walk off for Dane. A Gatorade bath as well for him and Kelly Sacco. Kelly Sacco, she's so good at dodging those Gatorade baths. But anyway, love to see that from Dane. The energy that he's brought, the impact he's brought. It's a really funny thing, right? And again, Skip's asked about this in post-game presser. This is in the same bucket as some ways as Max Meyer, where a guy in spring, he demonstrates that he deserves a spot, but for various reasons outside of his control, there is no spot available. Unfortunately, Dane, you have to go to AAA to start the year. Max Meyer was kind of the same, but wasn't the same. He actually was forced into the start. He was forced onto the big league roster, but the original plan was start in AAA. And once he actually came up to the big league club, performed, was then sent back down to continue on whatever progression plan he is on. Nevertheless, Skip has spoken glowingly about Max Meyer. He's spoken glowingly about Dane Myers. I think Skip Schumacher loves what he sees with Dane Myers. As fans, clearly, this is the funny thing. Everyone has rallied around Dane Myers because A, he's a young dude. People buy into him. And broadly, we just like the story. As Marlins fans, I think we're programmed to trying to hype up a young stud because we're just desperate for a young stick to emerge. I think that's just how we're programmed. It's how I was programmed. Isan Diaz turned up on the scene. I mean, what a start to his career, by the way. But Isan Diaz turned up on the scene. Everyone's like, this could be the best second baseman of all time. Monte Harrison's up there stealing bags. I was going bananas. This is just it. As Marlins fans, we're just craving. We're craving for an offensive dude to come up and perform for the Marlins. We're starved of it. We look around the league, every other organization has got these young bucks coming up and delivering. And for the Marlins, that just hasn't been the case. The interesting question here for Dane Myers will be, how quick is Avisail Garcia back? How bad is the hamstring? How quickly will he return? And what will happen if Dane Myers, as we expect, continues to light it up? I think, unfortunately, we all know the answer to that. and it's back to the status quo. It's disappointing. And I think, again, it's at the root of many of the issues that the Marlins fans have at this point, where, the roster's not going anywhere fast. The season's cooked. There's so much animosity pointed towards Avisail Garcia. The Marlins fans just can't stand him. I mean, it's pretty unique for any Marlins player to be booed by their own fans. I can barely think of any examples, but for opening day, for Avi to be booed up, that's just the level here that we're thinking of. Like, Marlins fans cannot stand anything to do with Avisail Garcia. And he's had a decent year, I say a decent year. He's had a decent start of the season in the role he's being asked to play. Great. But the Marlins fans will never really embrace Avisail Garcia. And frankly, he's got such, considering the contract, he's untradeable. And so, you kind of looking at the organization thinking, are they gonna do something freaky here? Probably not. We've been asking this question for 2 years now. So I think this is the really interesting part with Dane Myers. If Avi's back, when he's back, who knows how quickly they rush him back. Again, like, how serious is the hamstring? I don't know. Haven't seen anything reported on that other than hamstring issue. I don't know how serious it is. Maybe someone will ask. We'll wait and see. But for Dane Myers, while he's up, we're going to enjoy him. We're going to embrace it. He's assumed the Avisail Garcia role, which is effectively the short side platoon right fielder. So depending on the pitching matchups the next, week or so, we'll see how much Dane Myers we get. But nevertheless, super encouraging. For him to take that ball straight up the middle yesterday, in a real tough matchup for him to take that up was huge. Huge knock. He absolutely barreled it up straight up the middle. Great to see. Well done, Dane Myers. Well done. Everyone's rooting for him. That's the thing. And we've got a guy now we can kind of rally around. Feels like, I love Jazz, but it feels like most Marlins fans, based on Twitter anyway, like, there's definitely a split around Jazz in terms of people that follow him, that back him, others that don't because of the off-field drama, the personality. They maybe feel like it's a touch too much. I get it. Completely get that, by the way. I'm not saying one or the other's right, but it's fair to say at this point, considering all of the paraphernalia that comes with Jazz, it's impossible for him to be in a situation where he rallies the entire fan base. It's going to need someone like a Dane Myers, a fresh slate, a fresh start, and a guy that people can buy into. Dane Myers is that guy. It's what the Marlins needed. We'll wait and see. Feels like since Dane's been up, the Marlins have looked more alive, let's say. Right, final one topic here. I want to talk about how the Marlins walked it off. And they walked it off with, extreme circumstances. Dane Myers with the knock. It was a single. Fine. Brian De La Cruz was sent from second home. And when you look at the replay of what went on, third base coach was giving it the full wave. It was the most elaborate, over-the-top, full extravaganza windmill. It was like being in Amsterdam. There was that many windmills going on right now. It was unbelievable. However, Brian De La Cruz was literally halfway down the third baseline. He was miles out. He was dead. Dead. And anyway, there's a collision at home plate. The ball rolls loose, etc. The Marlins get lucky. But what I want to say on that topic there is that, we've talked plenty about the Marlins players, their lack of in-game awareness, the mental errors, the fundamentals, etc. Rightly so, we fired shots. I've got to be honest, that third base coach, that was a serious blown call. If there was like a war calculation for third base coaches, then man, oh man, that'd be a negative something war on that play. No doubt. It was a stinker, an absolute stinker. The Marlins got away with it, and I don't really care. But I just thought we should highlight that even the coaches and the coaching staff aren't immune to mistakes. The Marlins got away with it. It didn't matter. The drama was high. And to be honest with you, that felt like the perfect way to end the game. Two putrid teams. The Marlins came back after Sixto getting blown up. The bullpen held well and did really well, to be honest with you. But two putrid teams the Marlins found a way to come back, and they walk it off with a collision at home plate where the guy should have been miles out, but wasn't, and they get the win. That's Marlins baseball in 2024, baby. No doubt about it. Vidal Brujan on the other aspect, by the way, he's absolutely tearing it up right now. I've slandered him multiple times in this podcast, saying he's not a big leaguer. Vidal Brujan is basically giving me the middle dig at the moment. Rightly so. So well done for Vidal Brujan for getting things going. I'm interested to see what the rest of the year looks like for him. With that being said, guys, and that signal and that sign off from Vidal Brujan, I'm signing off. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. Thanks for joining me, Peter Pratt. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow as we look back on this game 2 against the Rockies. And we hope that it's as exciting. Rodri Munoz on the mound for the Marlins. He's back in town, and he is looking to stake a claim to stay in town in this Marlins rotation. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.